So what's up, everybody? This is your boy Jonathan. I'm downtown New York, Manhattan, 34th Street, and there's a lot going on down here. But what I wanted to talk to you today is about 3 conversation categories that I think you should stay away from. And remember, we're talking about social skills, and last time we just talked about being polite and not giving your opinion too much. And so now we're talking about different categories of social conversations that I messed up on, and a lot of people I know have messed up using these out of context, and they kind of had a bad reaction by people. So let's start with the first one. The first one is ooh la la's out of context, right? So ooh la la is basically anything you say to impress somebody. Like, for instance, I was a dancer, I was a wannabe PUA, I went to UC Berkeley, right? Those are ooh la la's, right? But when you say them out of context, people kind of think you're trying to trick them into being your friend, or trick them so you can impress them, so you can get something out of them, right? So like, I went out, back in the day I would go out and meet girls, and I would be like, oh, I was a hip hop dancer, and I was on this hip hop team at City College of San Francisco. And it's kind of like, you're just talking to girls in some random place. You're not by a club. You're not at a concert. There's no dance studio around. It's kind of like, it's way out of context, and it's kind of like, it sounds like you're just trying to impress them. Or like, I'd go to bars and meet a group of men and be like, oh yeah, I was a wannabe PUA and I learned a lot of stuff back in the day. But then the guys are like looking at you like, okay, does that mean you can get more women than us? Like, you should show us that you can get more women than us. You should show us that, your skills, you know what I'm saying? And then, force me into a failure or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, even mentioning something like, I went to UC Berkeley back in the day. It's like, oh, great, but you didn't get your master's. You didn't finish anything. You dropped out. And it's kind of like, what are you saying? You're better than me because you got educated and you didn't even finish? Like, so you have to know when to talk about the ooh la la's. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a nightclub and the music starts playing and then you start dancing and show them you can dance, then you could say like you were a hip hop dancer. But if you're not in the club or in an educational situation where you're trying to get a better degree, and then you tell them, oh yeah, I went to UC Berkeley, but I didn't finish. You got to be in those situations. So if you ain't in those situations, be careful with the ooh la la's out of context. The second thing is shock value, right? I have a lot of shock value stories, right? Like, I've been through a lot of stuff in San Francisco dealing with racism and the income gap and income inequality and classist and elitism, and I've been through a lot. And it's like, people will just be like, oh, you're from San Francisco, what's it like? And then I'll talk about all these problems. It totally kills the mood, totally turns people off. Nobody wants to hear all that. And, even when people talk about, other religions that I was forced into back in the day, then I go off on, oh, they hurt me and blah, 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 blah. Nobody wants to hear that. People just don't want to hear that because it kills the mood. And it's kind of like, when people have a conversation with you and you're just meeting people and making friends, you got to be cool. You have to have a fun, comfortable, happy mood so that they can get to know you, they can feel comfortable with you, and they want to be your friend. So stay away from the shock value because it totally kills the mood. A third thing I want to tell you guys, a conversation category, is creepy male-female interaction stories. And I'm guilty of this, right? I was talking to this one girl one time, and I was telling her about different events, and because she was kind of interested in going out. And I was telling her, don't go to this singles event because it's too many creepy men. Don't go to that singles event because it's too many creepy men. And it's just kind of awkward because then the woman's looking at me and it's almost like I'm trying to prove that I'm not creepy so she'll hook up with me and stay out of those other venues. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm not the creepy guy, but I was in all of these events with hella creepy people. You know what I'm saying? It's just super awkward and bad. And it's not the best way to have a conversation. And I'll give you another example. I used to hang out with this guy back in the day. Like I said, I had a friend who was a wannabe pickup artist, and we would go out to different colleges and talk to the ladies or whatever. And I felt like he was pushing on him a little too much, and so I just cut him out because I felt like I didn't want to be stuck with him in those situations and get in trouble or something, you know, for something sexual. And so I didn't want to do all that, so I left. And I'm sharing that story with you guys because as an example, but I've told that to other people and it creeped them out because it was like, yeah, you were still with him and yeah, you were still rolling out with him for a while and you should have been able to read that in the first place. And so that's the point. Like, no talking about creepy male-female interactions because it will get you in trouble, okay? And the thing about me and my PUA friend, I told you that as an example, and let's just keep that as a good example, okay? But so to reiterate what we were talking about tonight is number one, don't be talking about ooh la la's out of context, right? Somebody asks, if you're at a nightclub, you could talk about dancing. If you're not at a nightclub, don't talk about stuff like dancing. And number two, you have to... I'm sorry, I still get so distracted. Look at all the lights and stuff in the city. It's beautiful. I'm sorry. So no more shock value. That's the number two. No more shock value. Like, it kills the mood, and you don't want to... You want to have a happy, fun mood when you're out hanging out with people, and you don't want to deal with shock value. And number three, keep the stories about awkward male-female interactions to yourself, okay? So you don't look creepy. All right, so that'll do it for tonight. I'm Jonathan. If you like what I talk about, you know, you can click on the video. You can subscribe to my channel. You can leave a comment, and maybe I'll talk about whatever you said in the comments. All right, I'm out, y'all. Peace.